Hey guys, and welcome to the second ever episode of Suit Up, where each week we take one of the many frames that Warframe has and do an in-depth look into their skill set and whether I feel that it's worth maxing. This week's star of the show is the frame that's had the most recent Prime treatment, the Master of Electricity, Vault Prime. The standard Vault has been in the game for quite some time now and was moved into the Tenno Dojo Research Lab. Not only that, but it eventually replaced Loki as one of the 3 starter frames that you get when you start Warframe, and as such he's been deserving of a Prime for quite a while. So now that he's got the Prime treatment, what can you expect from his stats? Well, with his shields, joint top in the game with 300 at level 30, he's off to a pretty good start, meaning that redirection is going to be of a huge use to him. Health, stamina and sprint speed are pretty decent as well, although nothing hugely special. However, with an above average 100 armor, he is significantly less squishy than his non-prime counterpart. Now all of this sounds pretty solid so far, right? Well, I've not even got to the best part yet. His highest base energy in the game of 200, which is fantastic and really fits in with Vault and his skill set. Vault has always been a caster frame, using a lot of abilities to control the battlefield with the use of stuns and electrical procs. So since we've touched on his skill set, let's take a quick look at his abilities. Firstly, we have Shock, which launches a shocking projectile. It stuns and deals high damage to a single target and chains damage to nearby enemies. Now what this means is that Vault emits a bolt of lightning from his hand, and wherever it impacts, whether on an enemy or on a surface near an enemy, it will damage them with electrical damage. In addition to that, it will arc to other enemies in the vicinity with a 100% proc chance for the electric stun. Now this ability is amazing for crowd control. That stun is useful from level 1 to level 100. Okay, it might not be the highest damage ability in the world, but it scales amazingly well, purely because of that stun. A whole bunch of first abilities drop off super quickly, however Vault has one of those that will continue infinitely. The best thing about this ability is that it will stun for around 6 seconds and will not interrupt a reload. So if you need to get a reload done, even on something with a reload as long as the Supra, casting Shock can actually give you the time you need to reload and carry on applying your damage. Now Shock does have a Syndicate mod for it, Shock Trooper. What this mod does is that Vault casts Shock on his allies, or spectres, or even mind control targets, and will add electricity damage to their attacks. Now at first glance this mod looks reasonably good. I mean, more damage to their attacks? Can't be bad, right? Well, half the problem is that there are so few enemies that are actually affected and are weak to pure electricity damage. So almost everything that you're fighting is resistant to it. Not only that, but it doesn't seem to have the ability to proc electric for that stun. Now this may not be true, however from playtesting, if it can cause those electrical procs, it happens so rarely that it's simply not worth the mod space. It can however fuse with other abilities, so for example a frost causing avalanche while under the effect of Shock Trooper will do magnetic damage rather than cold, which is pretty useful. However, only really works if you know what frames you're working with, and the weapons also that they're using, so you don't accidentally change one of their damage types into something they don't really want. The mod isn't the worst in the world, but I really don't see it as something that is game-changing enough to warrant dropping any other mods for. Now Vault's second ability is pretty simple to explain, which is Speed. Vault energizes his body and nearby warframes, giving them increased speed and dexterity for a short time. So when Vault casts Speed, him and all his surrounding allies will gain a 50% speed buff, helping them to run faster. Not only this, however, an often forgotten after effect of this skill, is that it will also buff the attack speed of the melee weapons as well, stacking with other melee mods like Fury and Berserker, leading not only to faster melee speed and damage increase from that, but it also means a longer copter, which means it is able to combine with the extra sprint speed and create a frame that is quicker than everything in its way. Speed runs with Vault are over in a couple of minutes, leaving everybody else in his wake. Speed also comes with an augment mod that takes advantage of the electrical charge that comes from Vault while the speed is in use. Shocking Speed will change those electrical tentacles that come off and cause them to hit enemies in range with a 100% guaranteed electrical proc, and also the stun from that. Now this mod is amazing, and I use it on literally every single build. At lower levels this can actually kill units, however at those levels where it doesn't kill, that electric proc and the stun that comes from it is insane. Every single one of my builds has this on, and I keep speed up as much as possible. Now I can understand people wondering why. Well, at the end of the day, shock might have a chain stun to it. However, if you combine that with the radial stun from Shocking Speed, you pretty much have a crowd control master in Vault. It's helped me to get out of an insane amount of situations, and if you haven't tried it, I seriously recommend doing so. You're not going to regret it. Vault's third ability, Electric Shield, deploys an obstacle of energy, providing cover in any situation. And this ability has come a long way since its first iteration, that you could only really take cover behind if you were crouched behind it. It deploys a shield that is completely indestructible and will stop any projectile from going through it. In a tight squeeze, dropping a shield to deflect enemy fire is a great thing to do, and can help out in situations in times like defense or mobile defense if you've got no frost, protecting key objectives. The shield itself only does cover one angle, however since it's recastable as many times as you like and you've got energy for, you can just surround yourself with shields and you can be protected from all sides. The shield however isn't just a shield. If you fire through it, you're going to gain an extra 50% electrical damage, and firing through multiple shields is going to increase this, making the shield ideal for weapons like the Synapse or the Amprex. Not only that, critical damage will also be multiplied by 200%, which doesn't stack while firing through the shields. So as you can see, those electric based weapons can be given an insane boost by these shields, which is fine since they're short range, right? Well, Electric Shield is also going to allow these weapons to fire up to a range of 70 meters as well. So let's be honest, if you're not combining Vault, Shield and the Amprex or the Synapse, you're definitely doing it wrong. Finally, Vault's fourth ability, Overload. Wow, where to start with this one? Single-handedly, the worst fourth ability in the game. Vault emits an energy field destroying lights and other electronics, which will violently explode and damage enemies. Well, at least that's what the ability says he will do. Vault lifts himself into the air and does an animation that leads to a radial wave of electricity coming from him. Now, as the description says, exploding lights will boost the damage and keep the wave going, making it a good use on things like Corpus ships, where the chain might go on for a little while. However, it's a one-time damage boost. Once those lights are gone and they're blown out, they provide no bonus anymore, so you fall back on the, quite frankly, rather pathetic damage that Overload does. I mean, look, I know Overload does do guaranteed electric procs, but Shock does that, Shocking Speed does that. Vault needs something that is actually going to kill units, like literally every other single frame in the game. I was hoping that the introduction of the Prime was going to lead to DE taking another look at Overload. Alas, it wasn't to be. My advice, save the energy, use Shock and Shocking Speed. For the cost of Overload, you get much more out of the other two than you do from that more expensive 4. Now, Overload has got an augment mod added for it recently, Capacitance, which converts 7% of damage dealt into shields split between Vault and his allies. However, this suffers from one major problem, the absolutely pathetic damage that Overload does. Overload is so bad that there is literally no point modding for it. As such, Capacitance requires that you change your entire build to mod for an ability that does so little damage as a joke. This mod can actually be pretty good, but for that, Overload needs to be redone entirely before that can happen. Okay, so let's move on to starting to mod Vault Prime. Now it comes with 2 Vs and a dash as standard and a V in the aura. However, we're going to add 2, not 3, former to the build. So we're going to change the aura from a V to a dash, so we can put energy siphon, or we can put corrosive projection in there. And it also works pretty well for loot builds as well, because you could put things like loot detector in there. And we're going to add 2 Ds. We can change this V slot here to a D slot, and you actually only need 2 former. Now for this build, we're going to go with primed flow, which is going to combine with quick thinking, and that is going to be essentially our health. We've got redirection for shields. We've got fleeting expertise and streamline for efficiency. We've got primed continuity, which is going to work for the for speed as well as the shield. And then we've got shocking speed, which is going to work together with stretch and primed continuity to bring that sort of radial AoE stun that shocking speed actually brings to the build. And this is a very, very, very good all-round build. Now for my speedrun build, I go with fleeting expertise and I go with streamline, both maxed, because I'm running blind rage for increasing the speed of the speed mod. We've got shocking speed, which is also going to work with the speedrun build, and this is going to shock enemies as you're running past them. We've got narrow-minded for duration, combined with primed continuity, which is going to provide us with a lot of duration, which is why I've got the blind rage on there, because you don't have to cast it that often anyway, so having the extra strength on there is very, very useful. And then obviously we've got marathon, which is going to increase the stamina of the frame. And this is sort of my all-round kind of defense build. So I've got energy siphon in there. This could be corrosive projection if we're doing the void as well. Primed flow, as well as primed continuity. And narrow-minded, which is going to work for the duration, which is going to... This is a more shield-focused build. So this will be for using the third ability to protect objectives, or even allies if you're in a long-run mission. So we've got narrow-minded prime continuity, which is going to work for that shield. We've got blind rage, which is going to work with the shocking speed. Blind rage is one of those things that I put in there. It's going to help at those lower levels, but at that higher level it's not going to do a huge amount. So I mean, if you wanted to change that for something else, then that is more than reasonable. This will still kill enemies up to a fairly reasonable level, so I mean it's not too bad. We've got redirection in there just for a little bit of buffer. And then obviously fleeting expertise and streamline, which is going to work to bring down the costs of all of those abilities. Now blind rage, I mean you could also switch that out for transient. Okay, so on to my recommendation as to whether I feel that Vault is worth the time, effort and resources invested into maxing him. And the answer to that is absolutely yes, he is. Look, Vault might not be the most damaging frame out there. However, 3 of his 4 abilities are really very good. And the amount of crowd control he puts out is fantastic. That armor buff that he got helps him survive at the higher level. Plus the stuns and the indestructible shield. He really does have a place in almost any team. The old Vault didn't get that much playtime from me, since I never really learnt his abilities, and personally I wish that I'd found him sooner, since I would have played him a lot more than I did then. The problem with Vault really is perception. In the days of things like Saren's Miasma killing entire maps at once, the insane aimbot of Mesa, and the damage from Molecular Prime, a frame like Vault and Vault Prime don't get the love that they deserve, because they don't wipe out entire maps in one go. People feel that they're useless, and they don't get the playtime they deserve. Let's be honest here, when was the last time you saw a Vault in a mission that wasn't someone leveling it for the first time, or a new player coming into the game? Vault offers a lot more than some frames. His abilities don't really drop off in usefulness. The stuns that he offers are a gift that keeps on giving. Vault Prime does however lead me on to something that I need to rant slightly about, which is part locations. I am so bored of survival. Warframe endgame right now is core farming, and the majority of older players have spent hundreds and hundreds of hours in survival, farming cores, farming parts for Ducats, and things like that. So when Warframe came out, I was hoping he was going to be spread out a bit more. Nope, how wrong could I be? All but one part is in survival. This right here is why people are burning out with the game, and I'll be honest with you guys, I bought the chassis and I bought the systems. I can't be bothered with survival. Every time I load out survival, I can physically feel the burnout. Nova Prime was exactly the same, 3 or 4 parts in survival. One even being the brain-meltingly bad derelict survival. If it wasn't for wanting to get a video out to you guys as soon as possible about Volt Prime, he wouldn't be in my inventory. This Void rework, quite frankly, cannot come quick enough. Now, apologies for the rant, guys. I really do like Volt Prime. He is a fantastic frame. He has fantastic crowd control, and he's definitely worth adding to your arsenal. However, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this matter. I mean, I don't normally allow myself to get wound up by things that happen in a game, but I am so sick of survival that it gets my blood boiling every time we have to do more just to get more parts. As always, guys, many thanks for watching. Please remember to leave a like and subscribe, it helps me out a ton, and I shall see you in the next episode.